Hi, my name is Kelvin Pendleton, and I just want to plant a seed of faith in you if you just have one moment to hear me out. Last night before I went to sleep, there was just something that dropped in my spirit, and it's something I just want to remind some, and to some it may have been the first time you've ever heard this. And that is, my brother, my sister, you are not a mistake. Doesn't matter what people have told you over your life, doesn't matter how you got here. Matter of fact, it doesn't even matter what you may have told yourself over life. Doesn't matter what mistakes you may have made in your past. You are not a mistake. And I just want to take a moment to share a few stories out of the Bible to help paint a picture to where I'm coming from. And the first story is the story of Jeremiah. And you can find this in the first chapter of Jeremiah, starting in verse 4. And this is when God is approaching Jeremiah, getting him ready for his ministry. And what God told Jeremiah was, before you was even formed in the womb, I'd already chose you, I'd already set you apart, I'd already anointed you and appointed you as a prophet to the nations. Now, just think about that for a second. Before Jeremiah had even taken his first breath of oxygen, before he even came out the womb, before Jeremiah's parents even know what he looked like, God had already put purpose and destiny inside of him. God had already given him all the tools that he was going to need to be successful in life before he was formed in the womb. And of course, Jeremiah's response was, Lord, I don't know how to speak. And as a matter of fact, I'm even too young to do this. You want me to go before the nations? You want me to stand before kings? I'm too young. And of course, God's response to that, if you look down at verse 7, it says, don't say that I'm just a youth, because you're going to go to everyone I send you and speak whatever I tell you, and just don't be afraid. Don't worry about how they're looking at you. Don't worry about what they're thinking about you. Just worry about whatever words I put in your mouth, just speak it. And I'm going to be with you. I'll be with you every step of the way. So you have no reason to fear. Just just follow through on what I'm leading you to do. Speak the words that I give you. No one's going to be able to stand before you, Jeremiah. God reassured Jeremiah that he was going to be okay. Of course, we know Jeremiah went out and he spoke, and he was a great prophet. Listen, second story, Moses. Now, the life of Moses was very interesting, because after Moses was born, he was put in a bassinet and sent down the river, found by the Egyptians, raised as an Egyptian. I want you to catch this. If you really think about this, Moses did not even grow up around his biological parents. So you can easily say Moses was a foster child, Moses was adopted, Moses was abandoned even, because the parents gave Moses up, right? Now Moses, fast forward, Moses grew up, and now it's time for Moses to do the thing that God created him to do. Once again, he'd already had everything that he needed inside of him. And even though that's what God said to Jeremiah, I'm not trying to say that that's what God says to everybody, but I like to believe that just as God put purpose in Jeremiah as he was being formed in the womb, that it happens to all of us. And I like to believe that that's what happened to Moses too, that regardless of how Moses was brought into the world, regardless of how Moses was being raised, there was a purpose that Moses had in his life. And now he's standing before God saying, Lord, I have a speech impediment. I don't know if I can go before Pharaoh and proclaim what you want me to say. And God reassured him the same thing. I'm going to be with you, Moses. So what I'm trying to tell you with these two stories is, the way that Moses was born, the way that Jeremiah was born, the fact that they had flaws, the fact that they had done things in their past, did it make Moses a mistake? Nope. Did it make Jeremiah a mistake? No, ma'am. No, sir. And guess what? You're not a mistake either. See, some of us were brought into the world in all sorts of different scenarios. We may have been brought into the world in a perfect environment. Both parents together, lovey-dovey, lived together, married 60 years. And that's wonderful. But some of us have been brought to the world because maybe the mother got sexually assaulted. Maybe it's an unplanned pregnancy. Thank you. And maybe someone even tried to do an abortion and it didn't work and the baby survived. And here you are. And you spent most of your life being told you weren't supposed to be here. You're just a mistake. I wish you were never born. And it damaged your self-esteem. It created some trauma inside of you. It lowered your value. Listen, do not allow these events to lower your self-worth, regardless of how Moses came into the world. Look how important he was. He was chosen by God to lead the children of Israel out of bondage into the promised land. What is it that God has for you to do? The purpose and the destiny that God has inside of you, that's just for you. That's just as powerful. You see, the truth is, if you were not supposed to be here, plain and simple, you wouldn't be here. But instead, the Bible declares that you are wonderfully, fearfully, marvelously made by the hands of God. But can I take it one step further? Not only were you wonderfully, fearfully, marvelously made by the hands of God, you was also intentionally made. God intentionally made you just the way you are. You see, like, there's some people who were born and they're very quiet. And people say, oh, you're too quiet, you need to speak more. You may have been quiet simply because God wants you to hear. God wants you to listen. A good counselor has to know how to listen. Some people say, oh, you talk too much. Every time I see you, just yap, 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 yap. You need to learn how to be quiet. God may have created you like that so that you would speak up when it's necessary to speak up. So don't let the world try to tell you exactly who you need to be. Listen, the problem is we spend too much time trying to compare our lives and measure our success based on what we see other people doing. We look at what we see on TV and social media and movies and all the celebrities, and we feel like our measure of success is based on emulating what they do. No, your measure of success is emulating what God has put inside of you based on what He has purposed and intentionally created for you to do for you. We got to stop trying to keep up with the Kardashians and just keep up with the image that we see in the mirror. So when you see the image in the mirror, is a person that was created in an image of God. So even if someone says, you're not beautiful, you don't look good, you're not enough, listen, if we say that we serve a God that's a beautiful God, well, guess what that makes you if you were made in the image of a beautiful God? That makes you beautiful too. Guess what happens if we say, oh, God is awesome, and you are made in the image of an awesome God? What does that make you, my brother, my sister? It makes you awesome. It doesn't make you a mistake. It makes you awesome. God appointed Moses, God appointed Jeremiah, and God has appointed you too. Don't worry about if you never become a bishop. Don't worry about if you never become president of the United States. There's still something that God has put inside your life that's just for you to find success in your life. Not a mistake, but you were intentionally made just the way you are. So say this with me. I was intentionally made, so I will live an intentional life based on who I was created to be and not what people want me to be. You were intentionally made, so now it's time for you to go and live your life intentionally. Even if you made mistakes in your past, you can say, well, Kelvin, you just don't know what I've done in the past. I don't have to know. I don't have to know what you've done in your past to know that you're not a mistake. I don't need to know what you've done in your past to know that you are wonderfully, fearfully, marvelously, intentionally made by the hands of God. I don't need to know that. Here's what I want you to know. Your mistakes does not define you as a mistake. But we take those things, the good and the bad, all the things that we've endured over life, and we take that and learn from what we've done and let that propel us forward into our destiny. Whatever we do, we can't just stop and say, well, made a mistake, I might as well quit. No, ma'am. No, sir. What that means is we learn from that and we keep pressing forward. Why? Because God has intentionally made you for a purpose. And I really want you to get that into your spirits, and I want you to let that be your mentality. When you look at yourself in the mirror, I want you to see someone who was wonderfully, fearfully, marvelously, and intentionally made by the hands of God. And don't see yourself of what people have told you over your life. Don't see yourself as a mistake. Don't see yourself based on what you see. Stop keeping up with what you see elsewhere and start keeping up with the valuable person that you are. Don't let people take away your self-worth. Don't let people take away your self-esteem. You are important to this planet. You are important in existence, and we need you. I need you because there's something in you that's probably meant to bless me. So I don't need you thinking that you're a mistake. I need you thinking that you were intentionally, marvelously, wonderfully, and fearfully made for a purpose. So once again, you were intentionally made, and it's time to live your life intentionally. You're not a mistake, my brother, my sister. And the more that you know, the more that you can grow. So I plant this seed of faith so that you can grow and be blessed beyond measure intentionally. God bless you.